Do you want to change the side buttons, or you want to replace a broken side button on the Superlight, either 1 or Superlight 2? Well, this is the video for that. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So I'm Beardedbob, been gaming 35 years plus, over 230 mouse. I know a lot about mice, and I mod them as well. So if you're into that kind of stuff, this is definitely the right channel for you. So there's a few things we're going to need. Number one, you're going to need to take apart your G Pro Superlight, Superlight 1 or even Superlight 2. This works on both of those versions. And we need to get down to the side buttons. Now, if you don't know how to do that, I've done a teardown. I'll put a link in the description. It shows you how to do this. This is done down to the basic level at the minute. Obviously, you don't need to strip it down fully. Even the mains are still in, although this has got Kailh 4s in it and a Kailh encoder. So once you've got your switches, you're also going to need some flux. So I use this stuff. There's plenty of different versions. This is what I use. You're also going to need a soldering iron. Now, I use a slightly larger tip. I would suggest you use a smaller tip, but I'm a bit more skilled these days with it. And you're also going to need, for this, a heat gun. I would suggest you can try and desolder them. You can damage the PCB. It's very delicate. But a solder gun, they actually make replacement parts for these now, which they didn't do originally for both Superlight 1 and 2. But you'll need a heat gun. This makes it a little bit easier. You're also going to need some form of device to hold the switches. You can use this one. I prefer this cheaper version over this Omniverse. This is not as good for holding this part of the switches. I use an old crocodile one off Amazon. Again, I can link it. They're dead cheap. Get you a little bit closer, bring you on in. This is going to allow you to basically switch out the switches, allow you to have a less mushier click. There are other versions. The ones I'm using today are Kailh side switches. I can link where you can buy these from. You can buy them directly from me, or you can get from other places. You're going to need the ones with these little side nipples or side pads. This is the only one that works, and you also need the ones with the holes in the back. There are a few versions, some of them have the pads underneath. These are the style you need. There are other versions, but I use these Kailh ones, which I find quite nice. Then I would add some flux. This is going to stop it getting damaged. There's always a risk of damaging this board, so you do this at your own risk. Don't blame me. I certainly have broken a few. I even broke the first Superlight on stream by doing this mod. So if you're not used to soldering, I would 100% tell you not to do this. Just don't do it. But yeah, just get someone else to do it if you're not sure. It's a very delicate method. I wasn't going to show people how to do it because I didn't want people to destroy their mice, but people are asking me, so do this mod at your own risk. Don't come crying to me because you've wrecked your Superlight. You have been warned. So once your flux is in there, make sure you use quite a bit. You need to protect it from the heat. Then use your soldering iron if you want, or if you've got a heat gun like I've got, you can use that. Temperatures, it's up to you. You have to find the right temperature for yours. I can't tell exactly which one. I use between 250 and 300. It depends on your heat gun, depends on the tip you use, depends on how you're holding it. There's many different things. So that's what I use. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. You're going to need to do a bit of trial and error. Start low and then build up, basically. What you're also going to need is some tweezers. That's what your finger's burning off. I use this style tweezers. There's loads of free ones in screwdriver packs and stuff. You just want to heat up and gently pull up very gently on the contact and just keep holding it. It takes a while. It's not a quick process. You will sometimes melt the switches as well, and you can damage the PCB. Like I say, it's like a ribbon. It's extremely delicate, like nothing else you've tried before. That one's up. Just keep working on it. Be patient. There's one off. I'm shaking today. Oh my days. Whatever you do, don't do this with shaky hands. If you find they're a little bit tough like this one's being here, switch to the other one. Don't overheat them. You don't want to melt them. Patience is the key. Don't pull too hard, either pull really gently. And then just hold it up a little bit until the solder dries. That left one, the right one is up. Now, the final one, this one's up. And then go back to the other one. You have to keep like rotating. There we go. So, that's the first bit. The switches are off. You can see these are the original ones. These are Omron. They have come off. Fairly intact, to be fair. Could probably be used again if you wanted. I recommend you don't. Now you've done that, and now I'm finished. This is what it should look like when it's done. You can see there's a bit of solder, like little bumps. You can smooth those out. Sometimes I do if it stops the switch fitting in. You can see the holes as well for the switch to fit into. And now you can see, basically, when you line these up, don't forget the rotation as well, which way around they are. Now the other little tip I'll give you is, again, different solder, different tips, different heat, stuff like that. I solder between 320 and 380 depending on the board. Sometimes I can go really high for Zowie. It just depends on the PCB. Again, just start low, don't go too high. Make sure your tip's decently done. Mine's a little bit carbonized, but you get the idea. Solder wise, this is what I use. I use whatever's cheap as long as it's lead free. And then I tip the edges. My hand's so bad today. I'm gonna burn myself. I just tip the edges like so, just to get a bit of solder on them. You can see that. Got a little bit of solder on, just to help them sit down right. These are actually quite flat today. Normally, if they're a little bit lumpy, I might just run my iron over them quickly. Move them out. Sometimes when they come up, they do have little spikes from the solder. And make sure these are quite flat as well. These can cause you a problem if they're high. Make sure you feel the little notch. You'll feel it just click into place. With these little blue little blue posts fit into the PCB, and then just tap the edges very gently. Just use a much smaller tip. I'm just being lazy because this is the one I use. Give them a little gentle pull. Don't over yank them. Make sure it nicely sits down. It's not raised and you've actually done it properly, because you have to go back otherwise. It could be a pain. You tip your next switch. Sure this looks like at the end. This one's not sitting right. You can generally feel them. It's when they have a little bit of a spike. But if you damage this ribbon cable, it is not easy to repair. There are some spares now available, which is lucky. They were not available at one point, but they are still now. I don't know, I do have some, so I can certainly sell you some. Be very, very careful. Now, I use these little splingers to get them off the pad. I use them for skates and stuff. They're really good because of the tape. I generally just push underneath so you don't damage it and you don't want to flex it too much. Off she comes, and there you have 2 new switches soldered in. Et voila. Enjoy the modding, people.